right. Happy Tuesday, everybody. Another beautiful audience. So, how do you know when you're in the middle of some form of hysteria? Well, if people say you're crazy for pointing it out. You see this now with gender assignment surgery for kids. Proponents claim it's about the child's happiness. So how dare you suggest that cutting up kids like a Thanksgiving turkey is harmful? It's page 1 of the gaslighting handbook. You're nuts and not them. But thankfully, this delusion is now eroding. In the UK, a gender identity clinic was shut down after allegedly fast-tracking minors' gender transitions. A new book claims the facility ignored evidence that 97.5% of the children seeking sex changes had autism, depression, or other problems that might have explained their unhappiness. Because as we all know, there's no better treatment for autism, depression, and unhappiness than putting your privates in a blender. I'm sorry, if a child wants to change genders, no doctor should say, hey, well, you're the boss. That's like telling an anorexic, maybe you do need to lose a few pounds, and then handing her diet pills. A whistleblower says children who might not have been trans were treated as collateral damage by clinicians who labeled doubters transphobic. Sorry, if 97.5% are collateral damage, you got worse aim than Alec Baldwin. Sometimes kids as young as 10 were sent on this path. I mean, where did these creeps go to med school? Epstein Island? So what happens when all these abused children grow up into regretful adults? You know, beyond auditioning for the open seat on The View. They should sue the hospitals who force this stuff on them. I mean, you take a surgeon who leaves a sponge in your spleen to court, so why not one who leaves your weenie in a sink? They should pay, or it's going to keep on happening. But whistleblowers are starting to blow their whistles. PE teacher, she has a whistle. Jessica Tapia in California says she was fired for not complying with her school district's gender policies, citing her Christian faith. And once again, that pesky old Jesus ruins the party. Apparently, they wanted her to lie to parents about their kids' gender transitions under their privacy policy. A privacy policy. That's the perfect wedge between kids and their parents. But since when has someone saying, hey, don't tell your parents about our obsession with your genitals, has ever been the good guy? Here's Jessica.
I also found out, unique to my position as a PE teacher, that I was told I need to allow trans students into the locker room. That really caught me off guard, and I clarified with them, are you telling me I need to let male genitals into the locker room? And they said yes.
She lost her job for sounding the alarm in whatever school district. Well, they say they take employees' religious beliefs seriously, but also the students' right to privacy. It's how bogus. Religious beliefs shouldn't matter first. An atheist should be just as disgusted by this phenomenon as any Christian or Muslim or Scientologist. You don't need the Bible to tell you this is wrong. Just a 14-year-old daughter with a handlebar mustache. Meanwhile, the Missouri AG is probing disturbing whistleblower claims that a transgender clinic harmed hundreds of kids. Jamie Reed is a left-wing, self-identified queer woman married to a trans man. I'd love to see the figures on top of that wedding cake. Now, this whistleblower is calling out the Washington University Transgender Center at the St. Louis Children's Hospital, where she worked as a case manager. Reed alleges staff used experimental drugs on kids, distributing puberty blockers and cross-sex hormones, and also used these drugs without parental consent. Meaning that if you gave your depressed son steroids to feel like a He-Man, they'd arrest you. But your depressed daughter, they'll pump her full of enough testosterone to make Lance Armstrong's nut grow back. Sorry. But this stuff would make Himmler blush. Reed also says that this led some kids to attempt suicide, and the center never stopped doling out hormones. You know, forget about do no harm. They didn't stop when they knew they were doing harm. Looks like that. Meanwhile, Washington U says it's alarmed by the allegations, and they should be because it appears the jig is up. Parents know what they've been up to, and there's going to be hell to pay. And that's one bill they can't pass on to anyone else. Meanwhile, Reid also has evidence that Missouri unlawfully billed taxpayers to fund all of this. Where do these people get their balls? You know what? I don't want to know. Welcome tonight's guest. He's so British, he refers to Fox Nation as the colonies. Host of Piers Morgan Uncensored on Fox Nation, Piers Morgan.
Thank you.
She's so wise that owls call her for career advice. Author of the Social Justice Warrior Handbook, Lisa DePasquale. The only thing older than his act is his wardrobe. Host of Fox Across America, Jimmy Fallon. And like day-old coffee, she's ice cold and bitter. Fox News contributor, Kat Tipp. Piers, welcome to the show. I feel like I just saw you.
You did just see me on the 5, but you know, you can never have enough of me, right?
That's true. I never have enough of Piers.
Thank you.
Yes. I think that should be your motto. No, you know what? I have a feeling we're going to look back at this era as the way we looked at the 80s during that kind of like child molestation scare. Remember, and there were all the daycare centers that people are going to like, what were we thinking? Is it as crazy as it is here over there? Where
the Tavistock Clinic that you mentioned was in London. And the extraordinary thing, but this is actually widespread with this whole woke world we now live in, is that everybody knew this was wrong, what was going on at that clinic. Everybody had a sense. People were trying to get into it, to report on it, to expose what was happening to these poor kids. But anyone who tried to do that was promptly branded transphobic.
Right.
You were a bigot. If you didn't go along with this and acquiesce to every part of it, there was something wrong with you. And it turned out, actually, no. Everyone's suspicions were right.
Yeah.
Actually, what was going on in there was what was wrong and had to change. And this is the weapon that the woke brigade use, isn't it? Is that whenever you raise, say, the transgender in sport debate, when you see a 6'4" former male competing against women in a swimming pool and beating them up by 50 seconds, if you say, well, that's not fair, is it? It's wrong. It's unequal. You're a bigot.
Right.
You're a transphobe. And so it goes on. It's the weaponizing of these issues makes it almost impossible to debate. And anyone who tries to, J.K. Rowling and others who've tried to defend women's rights in all this, or children's rights, as in the case of the Tavistock Clinic, you become the weaponized person. You become the one who is attacked. When in fact, what you just read was one of the bravest things I've heard on television in the world.
Oh, now I'm scared.
Well, because finally, someone's actually saying the truth about this stuff. This is child abuse.
Yeah.
What's been going on? It's the job of adults to protect children, not to expose them to what has been going on.
It is crazy. It's crazy. It's crazy, Lisa, because I hate children, and here I am fighting for them. I despise those monsters, but I'm speaking up. You know what drives me crazy is the phrase puberty blockers. For 300,000 years, we all went through puberty. I think you should just go through it, right? And then see what happens after. But how can you it's like saying, you know, I'm gonna put off growing hair, right? It's not like delaying your driver's license. At some point, you're gonna have to do this stuff.
That's what I thought.
Well, now, what's interesting is there's so many things, you know, that's been brought up before that you need to be over 18 to do, like get a tattoo or get some other cosmetic surgery. And, you know, there are rare cases when the parents can allow it. But in this case, you know, there's tons of storytellers out there that I really wish would be more public. I know that they have this obstacle in the media, but there's detransitioners, there's feminists like J.K. Rowling who have a problem with this. There's gays, there's parents. There's lots of people that can tell their stories on this. And I agree with Piers that your monologue was great.
Oh, I thank you. You know what?
Wow.
I like these kind of guests. After getting all that abuse from Tyrus and Kat, it's nice to hear.
Tough love.
Yeah, you know, I wish you would transition into
Yeah, how about
something
it?
like appealing. What do you make of this? What do you make of this trend? Do you think that finally, like, there's a flashlight being shown?
Yeah, no, I think this is going to end in a bunch of lawsuits, and
Yeah.
someone's going to make a courtroom drama called 12 Angry Them.
That was actually a good joke.
Come on, man, stick with me. Here is the scam of why this has been going on from word one, and we know this to be true. There's two motives here. One, the clinics make a ton of money off the surgery and ultimately the meds that come with having a lifelong patient, which in its own is barbaric and reckless. Two is they're kind of manufacturing a new civil rights movement where they're trying to advance all of their legislation around anybody who opposes what we want is going to spark a wave of suicides. But we know it's not about the trans people and their well-being. Why? Because of our friend Caitlyn Jenner. If you remember the Caitlyn Jenner story, she got on the cover of Vanity Fair day one. They were like, she's beautiful. Anyone who doesn't think so is a monster. We're going to kill your dog. We're going to dox your family. Day two, ESPN Courage Award. She's wonderful. She's brave. Anybody who's not okay with this is a loser. They should be fired. Day three, she goes, I'm a Republican. They were like, her, get her out of here.
Yes, exactly.
Screw you, Bruce. Wheaties gave me the I don't like you.
Yeah.
And there it went.
Yeah.
So, but you know this, I know this, everybody here knows this. It's never been about tolerance or inclusion. It's always about whether or not you're a Democrat. And you can read further if you ask a black conservative or a female conservative who happens to be running for president. None of the rules apply to those marginalized groups.
You just gave me a great idea. Okay, we have men who identify as women while holding on to their genitalia and participating in sports. What if you, as a Republican or a conservative, transitioned into being a Democrat while holding all of your beliefs?
It's lethal.
That makes some sense, but at the same, it doesn't. Kat, what do you think? You can ignore everything I just said.
I did. I don't know. I mean, obviously, the way this happens is this is like the most contentious issue, is the trans issue. So I think with any contentious issue, the best thing to do is kind of take the contentious part out of it. And if you just say in any kind of medical situation, if there is a treatment that can have lasting effects on a person, then you want to really be sure that that's what you want to do. For example, you don't give someone chemo if you're not sure if they have cancer or not, because chemo can have lasting effects. So I feel like if you explain it like that to people, you have to agree. There's no way to not agree.
That's a brilliant way of putting it. But
I am glad I came back.
But if you do say that, I wonder if you're working at one of these clinics, they'd go, don't say that. Because that makes too much sense.
But also, it comes back to this thing of self-identity, right? This is the era we live in where you can identify whatever you want to be, okay? Republican, Democrat, a good example. We just had a case in Scotland, quite unbelievable.
Oh, the rapist.
Oh, have you done this story?
Yeah, we did this story. A male rapist identifies female to get into women's prison.
Male rapist who was married to a woman for many years, who said he's a total scam artist, gets convicted of raping 2 women. And at his trial, he suddenly puts his hand up and says, oh, by the way, I'm called Isla, I'm a woman.
Yeah.
So you can't send me to a men's prison where he would be badly treated. I want to go in a women's prison where there are fresh targets for him to attack. And he actually got into a woman's prison pretending to be a woman. The First Minister of Scotland, Nicola Sturgeon, just had to resign over the furore that this all caused. But this is where limitless self-identity takes you in a society.
Yeah, if you have
it's supposed to have some societal rules.
There's no restrictions anymore.
Right.
Restrictions are actually bigoted.
Right.
Any kind of like limits are racist. Last word to you, Kat. Did you have anything else you wanted to say?
I think I pretty much covered it.
Okay, good. Excellent work there. You can take the rest of this moment off.
Thank you.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.